This is a story from when I was a child, staying at my grandfather's house out in the countryside. Grandpa's place was deep in the natural beauty of rural northeast Japan, a place alive with strange tales of yokai and old legends drifting through the air like mist. Back then, I was in 3rd grade and honestly, I believed in those yokai stories. One time, I remember Grandpa warning me firmly not to go down to the dark, deep part of the river. He said the kappa would drag you down beneath the water if you went too far. Because I was pretty timid, after hearing that I stuck to the shallow parts by the riverbank and played there only. One day, I was alone by the river, picking up stones and skipping them lightly, when suddenly I heard splashing sounds coming from the water. My head snapped towards the noise reflexively. In the deeper part near the middle of the river, I saw what looked like a hand reaching out, waving right at me. I blinked in shock and yelled out, "It's a kappa!" The memory of Grandpa's warning hit me like a cold wave. Fear flooded me. I was scared it would drag me into the depths. So I grabbed some stones in my hands and threw them hard into the river. I kept throwing, one stone after another, until one big rock thudded near where that arm had risen from the water. Right at that moment, a groan came from the river, soft and wet, and then everything went still again. The surface of the river was calm, quiet as before. I thought, thank goodness, the kappa's gone. I scared it off, feeling relieved. I headed back home. When I got back, I found my grandparents and my parents all running around, faces pale and anxious. I asked, "What's going on?" Dad told me that the old lady next door had gone out to pick wild vegetables and hadn't come back. They were worried something had happened to her, so my family went out searching for her that very afternoon. The next day, word came that the neighbor lady's body had been found in the river, pulled up during a search. At night, my parents said the investigators thought she might have slipped on the slope above the river and fallen in. Her forehead had clearly hit a large stone. Her skull was cracked, smashed by the rock. Our house was near a beach. It was mid-June. I could have spent the summer by the sea. But strangely, I suddenly felt like going to the river, not the nearby one, but somewhere else. I didn't exactly know why. The river I wanted to visit was close by. I wondered what we could do there, fish maybe, but I had no fishing gear. So I let my mind wander and thought, how about a barbecue by the river? It sounded perfect, a wonderful idea that promised a fun experience. I made up my mind. I started calling around and got 3 guy friends to come with me. When we were halfway planning, a girl named Yoshiko called. She'd heard from friends about our barbecue plans and wanted to join. At first, I thought it was weird, a girl I didn't know wanting to join a group of guys for a barbecue. But I said okay. She said she knew a great river spot, so I let her decide where we'd meet. She emailed me the location shortly after. With time and place set, we waited for the day. On the day of the barbecue, my 3 guy friends arrived. I told them Yoshiko would be coming too, but after nearly an hour of waiting, she still hadn't shown up. Since we already knew where the spot was, we decided not to contact her again and just head there. When we arrived, the scene was incredible. Beautiful stones lined the riverbank. Across the water was a mountain, the view breathtaking. I thought, this barbecue feels like such a great idea after all. We settled down by the riverbed, lit the grill, and started cooking and drinking. Halfway through, sudden bicycle brakes screeched nearby. A gruff looking man showed up, scowling and yelling, "What are you guys doing here?" We'd been drinking and got caught off guard. Some of my friends snapped back at him without much respect. Him more easygoing, so I tried calming things down. He warned, "The upstream water rises fast when the river swells. Take a good look under your feet." Then, the man kicked a nearby stone forcefully. Right after, I noticed that there was some water pooled underneath it. He continued, "It's raining hard upstream right now. You need to leave quickly. Or do you want to die here? Because I didn't want to die. When I saw the situation, I immediately urged my friends to pack up and move up to the riverbank above. Afterward, we returned to the parking lot. While I was checking our gear, the man came over holding a bottle of Choco. He apologized, saying that because of the urgency earlier, he'd raised his voice out of worry for us. He felt very sorry about that. Once we understood his concern, we made peace with him and started drinking while chatting. Just as we were enjoying the conversation, the man sighed toward the river below. If Jaco had friends like you guys, it would have been better. Hearing this, I was a bit confused and asked, "What do you mean?" He said mournfully, "Jaco is my niece. Last year, while she and her friends were barbecuing here, they were swept away by the river's current." He went on, "People passing by warned them, but she and her friends ignored the warnings. They didn't come up the bank, so they ended up being carried away." At this point, I was shaken and my throat felt tight. I kept wondering about the name Jaco. It seemed like too much of a coincidence. Because I was so troubled by it, I discreetly checked my phone records. I found that on the very day we decided to have the barbecue there, the only message I received was an email from the strange woman who called herself Jaco. That day, there were no incoming calls at all. This struck me as very strange. Even now, I don't really understand what that phone call I received that day was about. And I don't know why Jaco would want to lead us to the very river where she was swept away. This is a strange and unsettling thing that happened to me once, fishing alone by a mountain river. Though the story is short, thinking back on it still feels eerie. That day, I drove to a certain mountain by myself to fish. Being alone in the deep mountains was a bit scary and lonely, but also kind of wonderful. After catching a few fish, I felt my luck was good today. I cast my line again, focusing intently on the float. I watched it drift gently left with the current. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a figure not far to the left. I turned my head to look. There was a woman standing in the middle of the river. She wore a dress, with long black hair. The water came up to her thighs. She stood with her back to me, so I couldn't see her face. I had no idea when she had appeared. I thought to myself, the current here is very strong. Even I had trouble standing still. How could such a thin woman be standing out there? Strange. I stared at her still and strange silhouette. Terrifying thoughts started flooding my mind. I wondered if she might suddenly turn around. And if she did, would it be a rotten, hideous face? Fear grew inside me. I decided to leave quickly. When I packed my gear to go, I glanced back once more. The woman was still standing in the same posture, back to me, in the rushing water. I was too scared to turn my head any further, so I ran away as fast as I could. Later, when I told a friend who loves fishing about what I saw, he said people have been spotting a woman standing in that river for a long time. But what they see is a bit different. Some see her wearing a dress like you described. Others say they see a woman in a kimono. Everyone who's seen her says her back is always turned. No one ever sees her face. She stands in the middle of the fast flowing river, and it's really unsettling. Because of that, no one dares to say hello. None of those who saw her have ever seen her face. Hearing all this from my friend, I felt genuinely scared, but I was also curious what her face would look like if she turned around. Just then, my friend casually added, maybe it's not that no one's ever seen her face. Maybe it's that none of the people who have seen it ever came back safely. Catch. The sound of the waterfall roaring down filled the valley, mixing with the fresh, mossy scent of the cliffside air. He thought this spot might be a hidden gem untouched by many, perfect for a quiet day of fishing. But then, just as he was about to reel in a hefty trout, a chill ran through him. The water around his line suddenly felt cold, unnaturally so. almost like it was draining warmth from him. The river's usual peaceful murmur seemed to drop into a heavy silence, broken only by a faint, distant whisper. Or maybe it was just the wind playing tricks on his ears. He glanced upstream and saw something that froze him in place. The water's surface ahead was bubbling strangely, as if something large was stirring beneath. A dark, shapeless mass lurked just below the surface, pushing ripples outward in slow, deliberate waves. The fish that had been biting moments ago scattered, darting frantically away. Tingling dread crept up his spine. He tried to pull his line back, but the river's current seemed to push harder against him, resisting. The shadows along the cliff walls grew longer, like hands reaching down toward the water. His heart pounded loud enough to drown out any other sound. Before he could react further, the water exploded in a silent burst, not with a splash, but almost as if the river itself was shifting. A dark form surged up, fleeting but unmistakable, a huge creature. Part fish, part something else, with eyes glowing faintly like ancient lanterns. He staggered back against the rock, breath caught in his throat, watching as the water stilled again, leaving no trace that anything had happened at all. The fish had vanished. The air was still, and the river flowed quietly once more, as if mocking what he had just seen. That day, he left the valley empty, menace-handed. But the image burned in his mind like a warning. The river was no longer just a place to fish. There was something old there, something watching, something that did not want to be disturbed. He never returned to that stretch of the river, and when he spoke of it to friends, they only nodded, having heard similar rumors about that haunted waterway. Tales of strange creatures, cursed currents, and restless spirits bound to that narrow valley between the cliffs. Years later, even among friends gathered around a warm fire, the story came up, always told in hushed tones with nervous glances toward the dark woods beyond. Because once you've glimpsed the strange and unknowable lurking beneath the quiet surface, the river never quite lets you go. And sometimes, late at night, if the wind blows just right, you can almost hear it whisper a warning carried on the cold mountain air. From the haunted waters of the river that is best left alone, Mr. Tiagu was truly happy. That was how he planned to cross over to the larger waterfall upstream. But when he arrived, he suddenly noticed someone already fishing there. He watched as the man waved a bamboo fishing rod. Right away, Tiagu understood this was no ordinary angler, an expert, without a doubt. Yet, his clothing was downright strange. The man wore a suit, leather shoes, and a flat cap. It was eerie and unusual for this remote spot. Despite this odd appearance, the man's fishing skills were impressive. He kept catching fish one after another. Normally, when you fish in a stream, you slowly move upstream to change spots. But this suited man stayed rooted in the same place without moving at all. Tiagu wanted to push farther upstream, but there's an unspoken rule out fishing: if you arrive late, you don't step upstream of someone who got there before you. It's considered rude. However, if the first person has no intention of leaving, you can politely greet them and explain you want to fish further upstream, asking permission to pass. Watching this suited man, Tiagu felt a deep sense of unease, a growing fear. But he had no choice if he wanted to move farther up. So he approached and spoke to the stranger. "Hello, sir. That was a beautiful fish you just caught." The suited man was crouched down, facing away from him, seemingly removing his hook. Tiagu continued. "That fish looked about a foot long." Still, there was no response. Tiagu wondered if the man might have trouble hearing, so he moved to his right side to get a better look. But the man turned his face away, refusing to meet his gaze. Strange, but Tiagu soon understood what he was doing. The suited man was forcefully stuffing the fish he caught into glass specimen jars. Not one or two fish, but jars filled to the brim. The fish had been crushed and deformed, no longer resembling fish at all. The shapes were twisted, a mass of rotten flesh packed inside. Seeing this, Taigu thought, this guy's definitely not normal. He'd better not get involved. So he said, sorry, I'll be on my way, and walked past him. The man turned his back fully, deliberately hiding his face. All the while, he kept shoving more fish into the jars with desperate force. Taigu walked about 10 meters ahead, then glanced back. The man had vanished. Around the riverbank, towering rock walls rose nearly 10 meters high. Below was the fast-moving waterfall, a place no one could easily leave once caught inside the stream. He didn't know what kind of ghost or monster the suited man was, but to disappear like that was terrifying. For a moment, Taigu wondered if it had only been a hallucination. But after that incident, during a fishing friend's drinking party, he met a heavyweight figure known as the Odomo legend. This man had scoured every tiny tributary and marsh in the area, even serialized articles about it in magazines like the Mo himself. Taigu casually mentioned the strange suited man he had encountered. The older gentleman listened quietly, then said softly, Taigu Mane-san.